Hello and welcome to City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Mayor Jerry Cook. Today we're talking about both the February 7th and the February 21st City Council meetings. Thanks for being here today, Jerry.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
We are just coming off snowflake days, and we actually had snow for those events.
We had a little bit of snow and a little bit of cold, and then we've had all the 60-degree weather all week, and it just hasn't felt like February.
Yeah, it's been strange. But you got out to some of the events.
Yeah, they were very nice, very nice. Sue Leggett was our marquee this year, and she was out at everything. And Diane Busta again did a tremendous job taking point on snowflake days. And the events that I saw were very well attended. From the chili feed, I think the Mayor's Cup, former Mayor Tim Howe still runs that, and that was all full, I believe, out at the simulators at Bunker Hills. The waffle breakfast they have wonderful waffles. If you get an opportunity to go to one of those, They actually use like a nutmeg mixer. I don't know what it is, but they're wonderful.
That's good.
Yeah, and then they had the paint and canvas down at the and Family Day down at the Ice Center, and yeah, everybody just had a lot of fun.
Yeah, they almost didn't need to do the simulator tournament. They could have actually done some sort of contest out on the driving range this year.
They could have, I think, yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. And I know they were hoping to open up the Executive 9 sooner than later this year, but of course we're supposed to get a little bit of snow now. Not as much as they originally predicted this weekend, but a little bit.
Not the snow-armageddon that they were promising, or the phenomenal event or whatever they called it, but yeah, maybe 3 to 6. Who knows?
All right, well, time will tell. We'll find out about that, but Snowflake Days is over for this year.
Yep.
I know they are planning already for next year, and they're planning to do some tie-in with some of the events to Super Bowl 52, which is being hosted here in Minneapolis.
Oh, well, that'd be fun.
So we'll have to stay tuned for that and see what they come up with.
Yeah. Maybe they'll even tie something in, because next year in 18, our Bunker Hills Golf Course will be celebrating 50 years as well. So maybe for the simulator for the Mayor's Cup out there, I don't know.
There you go. All right, stay tuned for all of that. Well, we'll jump into our meetings now. We're going to first off start out by talking about our February 21st meeting. One of the first items of action there was a proclamation declaring March 7th as a day of action to end domestic violence.
Sure. Yeah, we're very fortunate to have Alexandra House right adjacent to Coon Rapids, right on the edge of Blaine. And they asked us, along with 6 statewide coalitions encompassing over 80 domestic violence organizations statewide, have organized the Day of Action to End Domestic Violence. So we read a proclamation in honor of that and designated March 7th as the Day of Action.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a small thing, but whatever we can do to show our support.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely needed, and we might as well jump ahead and talk about our consent agenda. Item 7 was approving a service agreement with the Alexander House, which is a shelter that helps battered women and their children.
Right. So it's so much more than that. Alexander House has actually developed tools that our police force use in the field to determine what the next steps are for somebody. They assist our city attorney's office. So we've asked them to sort of try and quantify it somewhat. So we actually allocate money from our budget towards Alexandra House for the services they directly provide to the city attorney's office and police force. So we allocated $12,500 this year.
Okay.
And it could easily be more.
Yeah, and definitely all the money that they can get certainly helps those services. I think it was last fall they just got a big donation from, I believe it was TPC Rose Group out at the TPC, something around the lines of $140,000, $150,000. It was like their largest donation ever, and the Alexander House was the beneficiary of that.
Yeah, well, or in the city of Blaine, they have a different model for controlling their gambling funds, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And they allocated like $50,000 to Alexander House from their foundation last year. So it's a great organization. We're very fortunate to have them here. This particular item was just to address the services they directly provide to our police and city attorney's office.
Okay.
And then the services they provide to the women and children in the area in general are far more expansive. Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of gambling, you were talking about that. We received the gambling report and authorized payment to the Community Strength Foundation. So what's that all about?
Sure. You skipped over it. That's why I got
Item
messed
4.
up here. 4.
I jumped ahead to 7.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it flowed better with
All
the
right.
domestic violence.
It did, but so we've got multiple organizations in town that have gambling licenses that sell pull tabs, do bingo, things like that. So the American Legion Post, Coon Rapids Lions Club, Coon Rapids Mat Bandits, Coon Rapids National Little League, Coon Rapids Youth Hockey, and the VFW Post 9625. They have various operations set up in places up to 3 bricks and mortar locations and then up to a couple more that can be electronic. At any rate, they have to, spend most of the proceeds within the Coon Rapids market area, and then they also have to provide, I believe it's 5%
Yes.
of their overall proceeds to the city of Coon Rapids, and we allocate 90% of that to our Community Strength Foundation, and that goes towards all kinds of things around the community. The largest payout of that is to the 4th of July fireworks. So I just said a lot, but you're still looking at me inquisitively. Was there something I missed there?
No. The amount for this year is just under $40,000 that is coming from that 5%, or the 90% of the 5%, if that makes sense. That's going into that Community Strength Foundation.
Right. Yeah. The total amount was $43,768, but then 10% of that stays in a fund at the discretion of the Coon Rapids City Council.
Okay.
And that money can be used, if we decide to do extra support to Alexandra House or to, I recall we finally distributed something from it last year, and I don't even remember who it went to now, but it's
Okay. So they have a fund balance right now. It looks like about $26,500.
correct.
All right. We'll move along. Another consent agenda item was approving contracts between the state of Minnesota and the city of Coon Rapids for the ICWC program. This is what we also call the work program, and we have crews that help out around the city.
Yeah, and so it's a win-win. These guys, gives them an opportunity to get out and do some work, and it's the Institution Community Work Crew. And if you're driving around Coon Rapids, you'll see them out mowing medians. The county also uses them. I believe we used them last year for helping finish our disc golf course over in Woodcrest Park. So we're looking at a 2-year contract for $86,500 each year for a total of $173,000, and we get a ton of work out of that. It just there's no way we could do that. We don't have that value proposition any other way of doing it.
Right, and these are low-risk offenders that are with the Department of Corrections that are getting close to release, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it is. I mean, I think this is all coming out of probably their Lino Lakes, I would think, which is pretty low risk anyway.
You would guess,
I believe.
yeah. All right, so that'll be in effect for another 2 years, correct? Through March of 2019, it looks like.
Yeah, it was a 2-year, 4 payments. Yeah, that sounds right, Steve.
All
yeah,
right.
March 31st, 2019, or until all obligations have been satisfactorily fulfilled, whichever comes first.
All right, well, there's always lots of stuff to do, so I imagine they'll be keeping busy. All right, council approved a temporary on-sale strong beer and wine liquor license. This is for Springfest at Epiphany Church, getting us excited for spring. I think actually that little taste of spring that we had was exciting to a lot of people.
Yeah, it just sounds warm when you start thinking about Springfest. Springfest at Epiphany is like kind of the first community celebration that kicks it off. It's their celebration, but it's the first one in the community. So it's always fun to see that come up because it reminds us that summer is coming.
All right, do we know when it's taking place this year?
We do, and it is Friday and Saturday, May 19th and May 20th. It used to be a 3-day event, and then they pulled it back to 2 days. So it's Friday and Saturday, May 19th and 20th.
All right, well, like I said, a little less than 3 months away for that now. All right, council approved a service agreement. We already talked about that with the Alexander House. See, I jump over things and then I repeat them. All right, we're going to move along now to public hearings, and we had several of those. They were all related to street reconstruction. It's that time of year to start thinking about that. Planning has been underway now for a while as far as the projects that are taking place this year, but folks were here regarding the assessments for those projects.
Yeah, we had a full council chambers. Not everybody spoke, but several did. And it was really hard for them to know there was 4 different projects, but there were a total of 50 or 60 streets. So they were supposed to address us during the public hearing, assessment hearing for their project. But yeah, we had a couple of misfires, but it was good. We had a couple objections to the projects. One was just somebody that didn't feel they were getting a benefit because they own a commercial property that faces one street, but their utilities and their main and egress and ingress and egress comes off the other street, Dogwood Street, because it's a flag lot. So they filed a written objection. A few were concerned that they didn't feel their streets needed to be repaired yet. And our crews are out, our staff is out every year. You know, Mr. Hansen said that somebody drives and somebody with a clipboard monitors the conditions of all the streets. And even though your street may not look like it needs to be done right now, their trained assessment tells them that it's likely going to be blowing up in the next year or two because of the number of cracks, the number of repairs, the number of whatever. Okay. So we're doing a lot of streets this year. Literally, I think it was more than 50. Okay. You know, little cul-de-sacs, a little block here, a block there, and so a big project. And what I would like to encourage folks to do is when they get the pink notice on their door that says the water's going to be off, pay attention to that. Pay attention to the website, because when the water goes off, you're done.
Yeah.
And it depends, and sometimes it's 12 hours, you know, if they're doing a segment or if they're replacing valves or hydrants or some of these, the water is not part of the project. Some of them it is. Okay. So it'll be a lot to keep track of this year.
All right. Well, like you said, they do go through and they rate the street. So it's not like they're just picking different areas that we're going to do this area this year, this area this next year. They're actually going through and looking at the worst streets. Yep. And then sort of prioritizing from there.
Yeah, and they're all over the community. I mean, they're up, you know, one of the projects is actually up on Crooked Lake, where we're splitting the project with the city of Andover. So we're handling the engineering and the project, and then the city of Andover is reimbursing us for their half of the project plus some engineering costs. Yeah, it's a whole section over between Dogwood and University north of 101st. It's a lot of streets up north off 121st, 123rd, east of Foley. I'm picturing all these maps in my head. There's all over town.
Yeah, and if anyone's interested, obviously we can't rattle off all 50 streets.
Oh, we could.
We could. We might be over our time. But you can go to the city's website, coonrapidsmn.gov, and check out the agenda section of the council meeting, and you'll see all the maps there and the list of all the streets that are being redone this year.
Right, and if you go to the engineering department, you'll find all the contacts for our engineers. And Mr. Hansen would be happy to let them know why we're doing streets, and especially if they just touched on this a little bit, but if anybody's getting reconstructed and they have in-ground sprinklers or anything else that they feel notable, they want to know about it, because they'll come back and repair the sprinklers, even though they're out in the right-of-way. They will work around them, and then they will replace them, repair them, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as the assessments, I know we've talked about it before, but just to touch on that, folks only pay a portion of the assessment, correct? Yeah. The majority is picked up by the city's general fund?
Yeah, so these projects, about 20% comes back to the city through assessments. We have a standard amount for all single and two-family homes. It's $1,843. If you do nothing, which is the default setting, if you don't do anything, it'll automatically be assessed to your property over 10 years. I think the interest rate was 3 or 4. I don't recall what it was now. Or you can pay it off. You'll also have it in the notice where you can pay it off by a certain time, and there won't be any interest. That comes up sooner than later. It isn't like when the project is done, then you can pay it off with no interest. Everything is in advance. I don't recall what the month is, though.
Okay. But some cities charge the whole thing back to residents, correct?
Or a great percentage of it. You know, you have a burden. You can't assess more than the value or more than the benefit. Okay. So I think it would be very difficult if you have a street that could use reconstruction, it would be very difficult to say, let's see, 20%, so 5 times 18. So it would be very difficult to say we're going to charge you $10,000 or $15,000 for this street. And I know that math isn't right, but let's say 10,000. It would be very difficult to tell them you've got a $10,000 benefit. We just added $10,000 onto the value of your home. $1,843, which is the fixed for single and two family. It's pretty easy to justify that. You know, when you're looking in the market for a new home and you look at new streets, you go, oh, this is very nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty easy benefit to measure.
Okay. And then for people that live on 2 different streets where they're not assessed for both projects, correct?
No, if you live on a corner, you're only going to pay for one or the other if you're in a single family or a 2 family. Now, since commercial and multifamily, you pay by the frontage foot. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how that works. I would think you would still be paying for frontage foot, but I don't know that.
Okay. Well, good stuff to know for folks that maybe don't understand the assessment process or all that, but their streets will be coming due at some point, and they'll be paying those assessments as well.
Yeah. Apparently, the whole street reconstruction in Coon Rapids started in 1994. Mr. Hansen said at the meeting.
Okay.
And we got 210 miles of streets and a lot of cul-de-sacs, 400 cul-de-sacs, and and as he mentioned, if you're in a cul-de-sac, you have you've got 18 garbage trucks going through on a hot July day. Yeah. Those are hard on the street.
A little wear and tear there for sure.
Yep.
All right. Council adopted a resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering the ad for bids. This is for the annual street maintenance program, as long as we're on that topic.
Sure. And I'll just say, Coon Rapids is part of I believe it's an 11-city consortium where we do all of the fog sealing, the street sealing, the striping. All of these things are bid in a very large scale, so there's a lot of economy of scale that the communities benefit by. Coon Rapids is one of the larger communities, benefits less than say a Matamidi, or I don't recall. There's 11 communities in there. The smaller communities.
Matamidi is one of them.
Yeah. They get a larger benefit because it allows them to buy in scale, but it also helps us because it puts us onto the next level for bidding.
And you said there was another community that was added to this group.
Yeah, so there were actually 2 amendments we approved. There was a 7th amendment to the Joint Powers Agreement where we changed the opt-out period. You can opt out with 30 days notice now instead of whatever it was. And then the 8th amendment was adding another community to the consortium. Mounds View is now joining this group too.
All right. Council accepted a feasibility report and ordered the public improvement for Crescent Pond's 9th edition. This is actually the housing development that's up off the corner of University and Main Street.
Correct. Yeah, it's kitty corner from Blaine Senior High School up there. And this project started in 2009. And then, as just about everybody remembers, there was a bit of a dip in the housing market around 2009, 10, 11, 12. And now it took back off here in the last few years. And this is now the last part of that development. It's the last cul-de-sac. They haven't wanted to get ahead of themselves and get the final plat approval and everything ready to go until they were ready to sell the lots. Now they are, and this will be the final part of that development. Beautiful homes, very nice little community. Their Sunrise Park is right in the middle of it. So it's a nice spot.
Had some neighborhood meetings up in that park.
We've had nice. A couple, yep.
This is 19 single-family residential lots is what this addition will add there. Like you said, completing that housing project.
Yep.
All right, Council adopted a resolution accepting plans and specifications for the Wilderness Bunker Hills Trail extension and soliciting the bids for that.
Yeah, this is a great connection, north-south trail. This is from Main Street, just east of Avocet Street in what is now the Wexford development. It runs parallel to the tracks up to the north-east-west trail by the dog park.
Yeah, just kind of southeast of the compost site there.
Yep. And so it's another nice trail connection. This was very needed, and it's part of a very comprehensive trail system, and Coon Rapids is just famous for them, and It's awesome.
And we know people like their trail, so.
And we do, yeah.
All right. Council approved the purchase of a street sweeper for the streets department.
Those are expensive.
Apparently.
Those are expensive. I think it was $211,000 for the street sweeper. I'm not going to try and find it right now. And it's 7 years old, the one we're getting rid of, unit number 13.
Okay.
And, you had 2,400 hours on it. It's like, gee, that just doesn't seem like enough hours on a piece of equipment, but it's every time this is operating, it's operating in the dustiest of conditions. And so, you can't, when you send your crews out to get the work done, they've got to have the equipment that's going to hold up for them. So the old sweeper will either be traded in or sold, whichever works out better for us financially.
All right. 222,000, looks like.
222,000? I
According
bet
to
the
this.
dump truck was 211 then.
There you go.
So
We'll
maybe.
find that. We'll find out about that one soon enough. All right. So we'll look forward to the new street sweeper out there taking care of our roads. Council approved a joint powers agreement. This is with Anoka County for the reconstruction of Foley Boulevard. There's been a lot of talk about the condition of that boulevard.
I don't think I don't know what would be the last thing in Coon Rapids that's generated as many calls, messages, and complaints as the current condition of Foley Boulevard between Egret Boulevard and Northdale Boulevard. Mm-hmm. It was just this perfect storm. The county was trying to get it done, so they wanted to get a little bit of a start on it, or they wanted to get a good start on it in 2016 so they could finish it in 2017. And we just had a horrible winter for the construction. Mm-hmm. They didn't expect the rain and the freezing in December. They didn't, the county is doing, if they could do it over, they wouldn't have started it last year. Yeah. That's clear. They recognize, if 2020, they recognize that was a mistake. But they've done everything they can do to try and fix it. They've dumped like 100 tons of cold pack on it in December or January. That was the end of December. And then they went through, and then they had to grind all that up and turn it back to gravel. And then all of a sudden we get an inch and a half of rain last week. Well, it's February. Who would ever expect all this to happen? Yeah. We're out there doing dust control in January because now that it's a dirt road and it's graded, now all the neighbors are just getting poured with dust. So then they put the dust control down, and then you get the inch and a half of rain, and then you're out grading it again. Yeah. It's been horrible, and it's hurting. The residents are suffering. The businesses are suffering horribly. You get the double whammy of like Jensen's, great community supermarket in town. It's been here for as long as a community almost. Yeah. And they're first hit with a competition of that new Cub over in Blaine. Yeah. And now we've got Foley shut down, and the detour is sending all the cars over to University in front of Cub. And you're going, oh my gosh, this is just, I don't know what you do. It's horrible. We all recognize it. The county's doing everything they can to try and repair it now, but it just, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, we're getting to March here. They'll obviously be trying to finish this project then, get it going again in the spring and summer.
Yeah, and if the weather holds, they'll be able to start on this project earlier than they had otherwise hoped. But at the same time, they still have a major part of this project ahead of them. They still have, it's going to be gone for the summer now. Yeah. So
best obviously to avoid Foley Boulevard if you can and use an alternative route.
Yeah, but please come back onto the north end and buy in. What am I looking for? That word that says you're going to help the businesses.
Frequent those businesses.
That's not the word, but that'll work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we've got a very vital little community up there, and if you can't get to it, I would just love for people to make the extra effort to still go in and do their business up there, because we unfortunately, you don't want to lose businesses over a street construction project, and that's really what we're concerned about.
All right, and again, this is a county road, so it is a county project.
It's a county road, it's a county project, but it's one of those things where we feel the pain.
Right,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, that's all the items we have to talk about from our February 21st meeting. We want to jump back now to our first meeting of the month on February 7th. One of the first items there was appointing 2 new members to the Safety Commission.
Yeah, so Coon Rapids Council and the city of Coon Rapids really depends on lots of its commissions for doing a lot of the work around town. And one of them is the Safety Commission. How are we doing?
We're doing good.
All right. And we just
Couple minutes left.
Okay, and we just appointed a couple new to Terry Hedberg and Milo Hartman to that Safety Commission. I think the commissions we've got some vacancies on is like the Arts Commission.
Yeah, I know. There were several of them, I think, and
Yeah.
people can certainly put in their application.
Yeah.
They can find that online.
Yeah, go to the website, check out in there what's available for commissions.
All right. Council approved the Anoka Hennepin Drug Task Force Joint Powers Agreement.
Yeah, this is a very large organization. Again, it's another joint powers, and we've added the city of Ramsey is now part of that, so we've added an officer from there also to that. More of a regional approach to the drugs because it's not a community issue, it is a regional issue.
Definitely, but more power to have those resources in our community helping out.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Council adopted a resolution. This amends the 2017 budget for the purchase of a replacement police vehicle.
Sure, yeah, these come up on a regular cycle but then this one didn't quite make it to its regular replacement and it was totaled in an accident. So somebody else's insurance is paying for it. We're not planning on making that a regular part of our capital replacement, but in this case, it covered the cost of our new 2017 car, and all of the equipment will transfer onto the new one, and I think the city is just eating the $3,000 for re-outfitting the car. So.
Okay. And I know they can move some of that equipment from the other vehicle into the new vehicle.
Well, yeah, and in fact, they're able to use all of the equipment. And the $3,000 is really just the labor of getting the new car set up with the old equipment.
All right, but you need a certain number of police vehicles with your police force, so
Yeah.
have to get it replaced.
Yep, and any changes to the budget has to go through the city council. So.
Yep. All right, council authorized the purchase of a dump truck with a plow sanding kit for the streets. So no matter what weather we have here,
We're going to be doing.
there we go. We're good.
And this is the one I think was maybe $211,000, but it was surprising how much more the equipment is than the truck itself. You can buy the truck for like $84,000, and all of the equipment was $111,000 or $121,000 or something. You're going to look, aren't you?
I'm not at that meeting, but this is like all we have to talk about now. So now I'm going to go find it. What item was that? Number 16, you said, right? All right. You must spend 211.
All right.
187,000. Does that sound right?
Maybe.
There's lots of numbers in here. So
Is there?
Anyway, somewhere around that same amount.
Yeah. So yeah, the dump truck was $82,924, and all of the plow sanding equipment was $104. So yeah, $187,763. And then the 2007 truck that this is replacing is going to be retained as an emergency backup, and then the previous retained emergency backup truck will either be traded in or sold, which is the 2003.
All right.
You have to have extra trucks because if something breaks and you got snow on the ground, you're in trouble.
Yeah, well, and it sounds like we're going to get some snow on the ground here this weekend, so
Maybe.
This probably won't be here in time, but I know our crews will be out if need be and clearing the streets for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That's all we have to talk about in this council meeting. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't know. Are we out of time? Or are we
Pretty
have time?
much.
Are we?
So if there's anything...
Well, then maybe we're good. We have a bunch of stuff on our council other business, but since I can't find it right now,
All right.
maybe we're good then.
Well, thank you for being here today, Jerry, and talking to us about our 2 meetings in February. Thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you back here again after our 2 meetings in March.